Hello everyone and welcome back or welcome to Morgan Mayer Studios and the first tutorial of 2024. Yay! Fireworks, sparkles. And for this tutorial, I'm going to be taking a break from horse colors for a while, and we're going to go over white markings on the face. Things like stars, snips, blazes, bald face, and like the little spots that some horses have on their nose, and yada yada yada. So let's get right into it without any further ado. The first white marking I will be going over is a snip. My example for a snip here is Sooner, and he has a very adorable little snip with some subtle pinking on his nose. Snips are little markings that are just over the muzzle, and for example, my own horse, Reggie, has a snip himself. So let's start over here at this little muzzle that I pre-drawn, and I'm going to do just a little snip right here. I'm going to outline it. It might be a little hard to see. I'm going to have it go into one nostril and skim the other one and connect back here. Here's my snip. Now I'm going to take my eraser, squish it a little bit, and I'm going to roll over that white marking just a little bit and the muzzle in general. So I have my snip outlined, and the next thing that I'm going to do after I finish my oops that I made, I erased just a little too hard, my bad. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in the muzzle. Like Sooner, I am going to make it just a dark muzzle, like as if it were a bay. We'll be right back. Okay, I've got my muzzle shaded in, and as you can see, I have one nostril that's colored and the other one that's blank, so it looks a little weird, but I'll explain everything in a little bit. So I have my snip that is still left blank, and the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our pinking under control. So I'm just going to have a little piece in the center that's pink, and now I need to establish where my mapping is going to go. Made that a little too small. Okay. There we go. And then I'll have a little bit of white before we get to the mapping. Okay, first off, let's start with this nostril. I'm going to shade it in normally, being dark on the outside part. And as you can, I have this little part that's just sectioned off, and I'm gonna go around it, since horses will have a little bit of pink in their nose every now and then. Get that part nice, filled in nice and good. And now I'm going to shade that part in, not super dark, but also not super light. Like so. Okay, for the pinking in graphite, it's going to be just slightly shaded in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm very lightly just gonna like barely, my pencil's barely touching the paper right now. Just slightly shade it in. I'm gonna blend it almost by like tapping the paper very, very gently. And there we go, a nice little pink nose with very subtle detail in the crease. And now I'm going to erase this ugly thick line that I have built here. Clean it up a little bit. Okay, and now the next thing that we are gonna do is the mapping. So here's my little example that I have for mapping. Since I don't have any traditionals with mapping, I'm going to be using this adorable little stablemate. And the mapping is just a slightly darker gray area that's outside of the white marking. It is actually harder to execute than it looks in graphite, since you have to get the shade right. So for me, I'm just going to barely kind of color it in, and then I'm going to go on the outside and make it a little dark on the outside to kind of flex that mapping look just a little bit, like so. go back in, make everything, just darken it just a little bit, and boom, a beautiful, very detailed snip. The next thing I'm going to be doing is a star. The star, like the snip, is just going to be a little funky shape in the center of the forehead. And I have this little stablemate here that has a very adorable little star in the center of his forehead. And he's going to be my example. For the star, you want to plant it right between the eyes. You can kind of do any shape you want. There isn't really any rules, just go crazy. And remember, because we're going to add mapping, since most horses do have mapping around markings like stars, make it just slightly bigger than it is actually going to be. And I'm going to shade in the rest of the face. I think I'm going to make it gray because grays are a little bit more challenging with mapping. We'll be right back. I decided to make this little guy have some adorable little flea bites and some lovely hair by hair detail. And if you want to learn how to draw flea bitten grays like this, there are tutorials on how to draw horse colors up on my channel. They have things like how to do the flea bites, how to do the hair by hair details, and how to shade for different types of horse colors in graphite. So, for white markings with mapping on grays and things, it is, as you guessed, a little more challenging because the initial color of the horse is a lot lighter, making it harder for the mapping to stand out. But it's not impossible, and you never know if you never try. So here I outlined the center, and you have to be very careful on this and make sure the mapping is going the same way as the direction of the fur and the hair by hair detail that you made earlier. In the beginning, it's kind of hard to tell, but very lightly, almost kind of zigzag it, like almost make it scribble a little bit to make it look like fur. And since it's a little hard to see in the beginning, shade around your mapping. Just make it pop just a little bit more. Just like so. And around the center, make it also a little darker there. And then your finger, blend it out so it sinks in a little more. And I'm going to do some very, very, very light hair by hair detail in the center. Voila, a beautiful star with mapping. With this next one, the entire nose is in fact going to be pink, so I'm not going to tap out while I color the rest of the drawing apart from the white marking like I did with these two. I'm actually going to stick around, so this one is probably going to take a hot minute. So for this one, some horses have these like adorable little spots on their little noses. I'm going to be using JJ as my example for this. If I can get him in a frame, there we go. As you can see, he has these few spots, like he has one here and one here, and he has another on the other side. So set him down. Okay, and now I'm going to map out these spots. Remember, the spots can be pretty much anywhere within reason. And I'm gonna put 3. I'm gonna start with the spots first. I'm gonna assume this horse would be a bay. And I'm just gonna very, very lightly color in those spots. Then I'm gonna go into the nostril and make this part of the spot a little darker. And then I'm gonna do the one on the chin, remembering to shade, make it slightly darker on the darker points and lighter on the lighter points. And here are our spots. Over our completely pink nose. For drawing pink noses, I'm gonna start with the nostrils. And unlike the darker horses, we're not going to color the nostrils all the way in. We're going to focus on the front of the nostril, like so. In the back curvy part, and we're going to leave it blank in the center. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to, almost kind of like scribble in on the darker points, like that. Do a little bit down the middle. Like so. Now we're gonna take our finger and we're gonna blend it in. Blend, blend, blend. Just like that. I'm gonna make this nostril over here just a little more defined. So this one, come up like so. And if you need to, take your eraser and get in some of those lighter points. And also kind of erase your line art just a little bit as you go, just to make it a little bit more realistic. And here we have some very adorable little spots. I'm not sure if they're called kissy spots. I think they're called kissy spots, so yeah, kissy spots. And last, but most definitely not least, we're going to be going over how to do like a big blaze / bald face. Our example for this is Twinkie. He has either like a sort of big blaze that goes around and underneath his chin / bald face, and he has a little gap up in there in his forehead, a very adorable little pink nose, and one of those little spots over here by his chin. Set him down. Okay, and for these, I'm gonna have it go over the eye, just slightly, and then come down, curve a little bit, and separate that part off. Erase the nose a little bit because the nose will be entirely pink. And just for kicks, I am going to add a couple of those adorable little spots. Just beat it, mix up that kick batter. It's like using a beauty blender for paper. And I'm gonna tap out while I color in the rest of the face. I'm gonna make it sort of a not a palomino, a buckskinish color, because I've already colored the maid black. I added some dapples just because I was feeling fancy. Okay, so we're back. I'm gonna start with the pinking of the nose, and as you can see, I've already added my adorable little spots. Just remember, very, very lightly shaded in, top of the nose, around the mouth, adorable little chin. Around these little muscles in the face. Up on the top, right here. Oh wait, that's getting out of the pinking zone, my bad. Okay, drawing back just a little bit, because I am going to add a little bit of shading around the right now that I realize what I'm actually doing with my life over here. I am going to make my pinking around here just a little darker, so when I go in, it'll stand out a little more. Very, very gently and lightly blend it. And now we have an adorable little pink nose. Add some whiskers. Next thing, add the mapping. Forehand goes a little darker around the edges, just to make them a little more crispy. Stand out just a little more. Ah, beautiful. Go in with the mapping. Mapping, mapping, mapping. Make it darker on the edges. Stand out. There we go, now we have our mapping. And for shading on completely white markings, I don't exactly shade and blend. I kind of just hair by hair it. And voila! a plethora of white markings, plus how to map to enhance your horse realistic drawing skills. I hope that you found this tutorial helpful, and I hope you enjoyed, and I will get some more tutorials like this up, maybe some on how to do different kinds of braids, and I need to do some more on horse colors like buckskins, palominos. But for now, I will see you guys later. Bye!